Hello everyone. If you have not watched my video about biblical Salah, I highly recommend you watch that before you watching this. I will put the link down in the description so you can go watch that. So in this video, by the end of this video, you're going to see that the biblical Salah is exactly the same as the Quranic Salah. In verse 125 of chapter 2 and verse 26 of chapter 22, you see this word, al-rukka'i sujud. Rukka'i sujud. Now we're going to come back to 22, 26 a little bit more extensively. But what does rukka'a means? Rukka'a means crouchers of prostration. Crouchers. Rukya is the plural of raka is rukya is sujud. And sujud is a master. It means prostration. So crouchers, those who crouch, those who perform crouching in order to prostrate. So basically, you're crouching for the end result of prostration. Now, interestingly, in Hebrew, Raka'a is kara, and I explained that in biblical Salah. I explained that extensively. I'm not going to spend much time on it, but these two have the exact same root and they mean the exact same thing. Raka'a is the Arabic version of kara. So Raka'a and kara are they point to the exact same movement in Salah. And if you remember, if you watched that video, I explained that raka or kara means crouching and it refers literally to this movement. You see the lion is crouching. Bible actually gives us very specific examples. Again, you see the lion crouching. So look at this person. This person is standing. So this is standing. This is number one. And then this person goes into the crouching position. This is the end result of the crouching position. Now inside of that, so this is step number two. So this whole thing is raka'a or ruku'. You see he's bowing his head first and then kneeling here and then finally crouching. So this whole thing is the movement that it takes for one person to crouch from the standing position. So someone who is crouching, when you are doing the motion, the movement of raka'a in Arabic or kara'a in Hebrew, they're both the same. You have to be standing. There's no need to mention standing. So you're going from a standing position, from a higher position, you're falling or going down to a lower position. So this person, and then the end result of it is prostration here. As you can see, this person is prostrated. So that's why the Quran calls it what? Rukka'i sujud. Crouchers of prostration. Those who crouch themselves from that standing position, number one, to prostration position, which is number three. So number one is a standing, then now you crouch yourself, you end up, the goal of this crouching is to end up prostrating on your face, as you can see here, right? So that's why it's rukka'i sujud, means those who perform crouching for the end result of prostration. Now, verse 26 of chapter 22, just like I showed to you in my biblical Salah video about the house of Yahweh, house of Allah, house of God, our Creator, it says the exact same thing that Bible says, that when you go to the house of God, you have to stand the Salah, you have to perform the Salah, and describes the Salah for us. What does it say? It says, al-qa'imin, those who stand, rukka'i sujud, and those who crouch in order to prostrate, which is exactly the same picture that I showed you, right? Al-qa'imin, you see this means those who stand. This is al-qa'imin, those who stand, first position. Wa rukka'i sujud, is sujud. So al-qa'imin, the first position. Al-rukka, this is the number 2 position that we talked about. Those who perform crouching or crouchers. Rukka is sujud, of prostration. One movement. There is no going up, coming down, or anything. One movement from standing to prostration. Straight line here. This is very important. Unfortunately, this has been corrupted in traditional Islam. So that's why I'm emphasizing this. One continuous movement. And then verse 29 of chapter 48 gives us another clue about prostration. What does it say? It says, Simahum fi wujuhihim, in their faces, their mark, when you look at it, is min athar sujud. You can see the sign of the prostration. Where can you see that? It says in their faces. Basically, the Quran is giving us the sign, just like the Bible did. Bible actually constantly tells us the same thing. Apaim arada. It means face on the ground. Quran does the exact same thing as well. Tells us that it is the face that has to do the prostration on the ground. Which again, you can see here in this picture. This is the face. The face of the person, forehead and the nose is on the ground. Now, verse number 40 of chapter 50 is very short, but it's very interesting. It says, وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَسَبِّحُ. It means parts of the night praise and glorify and give thanks to the Lord. And then it says, وَأَدْبَارَ sujud. And after, adbara means after, as sujud means prostration, and after prostrations. Prostrations is referring to the Salah. It's basically referring to those 2 prostrations that you have to do in the Salah. We're going to get to that exact numbers in next verses. Don't worry about it. I'm going to get exactly to that number 2. You're going to see that Quran actually specifies that, just like the Bible specifies that. No difference at all. And then adbara means after prostration. So after prostrations is over, after Salah is over, you have to do what? You have to do glorification. You have to do praise. You have to do thanks. So Salah, just like the Bible said, if you watch that my biblical Salah video, you're going to see that. The Bible calls it mishtahawim. Mishtahawim means sujud. It's the exact same thing. Prostration. And then for the glorification part that comes right after Salah, it calls it what? Mitwadim. Mitwadim means glorification, praise, giving thanks. So first you have the Salah, then you have the glorification, and you have thanks. Verse number 107 of chapter 17 is also very important. It says, إِذَا يُتْلَى عَلَيْهِمْ يُخِرُّونَ لِلْأَذْقَانِ السُّجَدِ. So when you recite the verses of God to them, they fall لِلْأَذْقَانِ. It means in the direction of their chins. If you stand up and look at the direction of your chin, it goes right where you have to prostrate. It says lil azqan. It doesn't say alal azqan. If it had said ala, then it would have meant on their chins. It doesn't say ala. It says le. Le means what? Towards, in the direction. And I have a video on this. I will put the link down in the description. And actually I have explained, it's a short video. I explained from the Quran why this means in the direction, towards. So they fall down. It means what? If falling down means going from a higher position to a lower position. So they go from this higher position to lower position in the direction of their chin, prostrating. So what is this verse telling us? This verse is telling us that you are looking at a continuous movement. You don't go down, come up, and then fall down. One movement from standing, you crouch and you're right there at the lower position, and then you prostrate. So you're falling down from your higher position. In what direction? In the direction of your chin as you're standing, and you end up in a lower position in prostration. Now, verse 58 of chapter 19 tells us exactly the same thing. Kharru sujada, again, fell from this higher position in the direction of their chin in prostration. One continuous movement. That's really important. Verse number 70 of chapter 20, exactly the same thing. فَأُلْغِيَ السَّحَرَةُ سُجَّدًا. It means the sorcerers fell down in prostration from a higher position to a lower position in one continuous movement. So having said that, none of this is in the context of Salah, but Allah is teaching us in the Quran that prostration, you go from standing position in one continuous movement, as you can see, to prostration. Now, there are other verses that it's a one continuous movement. There's no coming back up in the middle, going back down, or anything like that. Now, there's another verse, verse number 24 of chapter 38, that teaches us the exact same thing. It's talking about Prophet David when he repents. What does it say about him? It says, فَخَرَّ. He fell, رَاكِعًا وَأَنَابَ. He fell crouching. So you remember we were talking about falling in prostration. He fell crouching. Again, is teaching us that you're going from this higher position in one movement towards prostration. But in the middle, the method, the way you have to do it is for you to get from point A to point B, you have to do what? You have to crouch. You have to do it this way. And that includes obviously bowing here, that includes kneeling here, and that finally crouching. So it's 3 steps. It's very simple, very easy. No pressure on your body, no pressure on your knee. Everybody can do it. Everybody can do it. As long as you're healthy, you can do it. So, kharra rakan means what? You're coming from point A, a higher position, but you're crouchingly falling. Kharra rakan. You're going to, look, we went from point A to a lower position here, right? Which is point B. This position is lower. You're falling down. This person at the same, now I know this is a picture obviously going forward, but you are falling at the exact same place where you were. You're going from a higher position to lower position. Kharra sajda does the same thing. You fall in prostration from a higher position to a lower position. Now verse 64 of chapter 25 gives us something interesting. It says, وَالَّذِينَ يَبِيتُونَ لِرَبِّهِمْ سُجَّدًا وَقِيَامًا. Those who remember the Lord at night, sujadan, in prostration and standing. But this should be weird. There should be a question because standing comes before prostration. Now, if you watch my biblical Salah video, you understand this right now. I don't even need to explain it. But how come that you have to first prostrate and then stand? They should be actually different direction. It should be the opposite, standing and prostration, right? Because prostration comes after standing. So what is it talking about? When it says sujadan wa qiyama, the sujadan is referring to the prostration of the first unit of Salah. I call it U1, first unit of Salah. Traditional Islam, they call it rak'ah. Call it whatever you want. I call it unit 1 of Salah. Now, standing, qiyam, I call it unit 2, is referring to the unit 2 of Salah. So, sujadan, and then right after that, wa qiyama. Sujadan wa qiyama. First unit, second unit. So, Quran is teaching us, just like the Bible was teaching us, that this is a 2-unit prayer, 2-unit ritual that has to be done. Now, verse number 9 of chapter 39 does the exact same thing. It says, أَمَّنْ هُوَ قَانِتٌ آنَاءَ اللَّيْلِ سَاجِدًا وَقَائِمًا. It says, the person who is at night spends some time of the night this is talking about the night prayer. So there are 3 prayers: dawn, dusk, at night. This is talking about the night prayer. Sajidan, prostrating, and standing, which is exactly what I just showed you, right? That prostrating refers to the unit 1 of Salah, and standing refers to unit 2 of Salah. Here it was sujadan, but it's the same. Sajadan wa qa'ima. Again, the Quran is teaching us that Salah is a 2-unit ritual that has to be performed. In verse number 43 of chapter 3, God commands Maryam and tells her, Ya Maryam, muqnuti lirabbika. O Maryam, be obedient towards your Lord. Then it says, Vasjudi, and prostrate, varkai, and crouch, which is again the same problem. Crouching is before prostration. So here again the same story. Vasjudi is referring to the prostration of unit 1, and varkai is referring to the crouching in unit 2 of the Salah, just like I showed to you. Vasjudi for the first unit, Vasjudi, O Maryam, prostrate for the first unit, Varkai for the second unit. So again, teaching you the same thing, that Salah is a 2-unit ritual, which is exactly what Psalm of David, Psalm 95:6 taught us, right? It says, oh come, nishtahave va nikra'ah. Come, let's prostrate and crouch. It's the exact same verse. Here is an invitation from David, that whereas in the Quran, it's a commandment to Maryam. So here it says, let us prostrate and crouch. Over there it says, oh Maryam, prostrate and crouch. It's the exact same thing. And then verse number 46 of chapter 34 really finishes it for us, tells us everything. It says, Qul, say, I advise you of one thing. أعظكم بواحدة. What is that one important thing that you want to advise us? And taqumu, that stand for Allah. Stand for Allah, a doubly, twice, and a singly, once. A doubly, that doubly, what is that doubly? You should be an expert now. It's the 2 units of Salah. It's talking about U1 and U2 of Salah. You stand for Allah twice, that's the first 2 times that you stand for Salah, and then your Salah is over, but you have to stand up again. But this time not for Salah, this time to glorify the Lord, to praise His holy name, to give thanks. So Mishtahavim, that's the prayer, prostrations, and then you have Mitwadim, which is thanksgiving, glorification, praise. You stand up again, and then you do a final prostration. So let me show it to you. So this is standing for Allah twice. This is the first 2 times. This is number 1. This is number 2. And what is this? This is Salah. At this point, Salah is over. By the end of this, by this last prostration, Salah is over. But you still have to stand up. Taqumu lillahi mathna. It means a doubly, twice. And this is Salah. So this is your Salah. I'm going to write it here. And Vafurada. This is no longer your Salah. This is singly. You do a singly. One more time, you stand up. You don't need to stand up politely like you did during Salah. I've said it in my biblical Salah. This is a time of praising and glorification and happiness and joy. So you might be moving your hands and singing and praising and glorifying. You do one final standing, and then you do one final prostration, which is exactly what Bible teaches us. So Masna and Taqumu lillah, stand for Allah. You see, this person is standing for Allah how many times? Twice. This is the first time, this is the second time. Standing for Allah twice, and obviously you have to go down, come back up, and go back down after prostration. Salah is over, but you stand up again, and now you furada, you stand 1 time. You stand 1 time and you do 1 last time, just like the Bible taught us. And then verse number 101 to 103 of chapter 4 teaches some really important points. All 3 starts with va'idha. This is a continuation. You have to read these 3 verses together, right? So it says, when you are traveling in the earth, when you're scared for your life, you can actually shorten your Salah. That alone tells you that Salah is either 2 units or 4 units or 6 units. It cannot be 1 unit because you cannot shorten it to half a unit. It cannot be 3 units because you cannot shorten it to 1.5 units, and it cannot be 5 units because you cannot shorten it to 2.5 units. However, the smallest possible unit for Salah is what? Is 2 units. So if Salah was 2 units mathematically, then you could easily shorten it to how many units? To 1 unit. And there would not have been any confusion. But if it was ever 4 units, then there would be confusion. You didn't know, is it 2, is it 4, is it 6? So that makes sense. Mathematically, the Quran is teaching us that Salah is also 2 units. That's why we can easily shorten it to 1 unit, and there's only one option. 2 and 1 and done, right? It's very simple. But don't worry about the math. Next verse actually teaches us that. It says, when you are in them and you establish the Salah for them, or you stand, فَأَقَمْتَ لَهُمْ, you stand the Salah for them, then a group of them should stand with you. I have a full video on this. I'll put the link in the description. I'm not going to talk too much about it. I'm going to go very quickly on it. So they stand with you, and then when this group prostrates, so you have to turn into 2 groups. One group stands with you. The other group is watching around. You're in a war position. You don't want to be suddenly attacked, right? When that first group finishes the prostration, as soon as they finish the prostration, then they stand up and leave, and then the other group that has not performed the Salah, they come and they do a quick 1 unit Salah with the leader of the Salah. And this is the example of the 1 unit Salah that the Quran gives us. And then the next verse, it says, when you finish this Salah, which Salah? فَإِذَا قَضَيْتُمُ الصَّلَاةَ. قَضَيْتُم means when you complete something. When you finish the Salah, what Salah? The Salah that he just talked about in the previous verse. When you finish this Salah, this 1 unit Salah in a position of fear, in a situation of fear, like you're in a war, when you finish that, this is the example. This is a continuation of that. What you do is that, because remember, you didn't perform the complete Salah, you performed the 1 unit Salah, right? Then it says, فَذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ, then remember Allah قِيَامًا, while you are standing, وَقُعُودًا, and when you are sitting, وَعَلَى جُنُوبِكُم, means on your sides. Because as a human beings, we are either standing, walking or standing, or we are sitting on a chair, on a couch, or in our cars, on our motorcycles, or we are sleeping. And when we are sleeping, scientifically, how do we sleep? Majority of the time that we spend sleeping, we are on our side, either right side or left side. It depends on each individual. So it says basically in any position that you are, in every position, remember your Lord. But فَإِذَا اطْمَأْنَنْتُمْ, when you become secure, when you are safe, فَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ, how perfectly perform the Salah, establish the Salah. It means perform that 2 unit Salah, as opposed to the time that you had shortened it here, right? So this is how Allah in the Quran is teaching us exactly that the Salah is 2 units, and it can only be shortened to 1 unit. And also, so these 3 verses, you have to read them together. And in this verse, as you saw, the example was that when you are with them, you are standing the Salah with them. The first group is standing with them, and then when they do the prostration after it's a 1 unit Salah. As soon as the prostration is over, they leave, they stand guard, and then the other group comes, and then the other group stands, and then they finish their Salah, they do prostration, and it's over, and then they have to remember, and then when they are in safety, when they feel safe, then they have to establish the Salah as normal. It means in 2 units. And very quickly, verse number 114 of chapter 11, it says, وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ, establish the Salah at the 2 sides of an-nahar. It means day. What are the 2 sides? The first side is dawn, before sunrise, and the second side is dusk, after sunset. And then it says وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ, and at night. So there are 3 Salah, right? Dawn is the first Salah, dusk is the second Salah, and the third one is night, which would be the third Salah, night. 1, 2, 3. Verse number 78 of chapter 17, again, stand the Salah le duluk shams. I have a video about this. Duluk shams means sunset. That's duluk shams. I have a full video, I'll put the link down in the description. From sunset up until the darkness of the night. Basically, what is this period? This period is dusk. This period of dusk or Isha. And recitation of the dawn, which is again, this is dawn prayer, number 1 we talked here, and this is dusk, this is basically that. Verse number 45 of chapter 29, again it says, "Utlu ma uhiya ilayka min al-kitab," basically recite what has been revealed to you from the book and establish the salah. Basically, Quran is teaching us that you have to recite the word of God when you are standing the salah. That's really important. Just like Bible taught us that at that time you had to recite the Torah when you were standing the salah. It's the exact same thing. Here you recite the Quran. Back then there was no Quran. You recited Torah, and you can recite. Both of them are words of our Creator, words of Yahweh. They both teach the exact same thing. Peace and blessings to all of you.